Okay, so you guys have been learning the different elements of art, and they're listed up here on the wall. If you look at those poster boards, there's 7 different ones, and right now we're moving on to texture, okay? And every single one of these is very important these are like the foundations of art, okay? So in texture, I have a few questions for you. How do you think texture is important in art? Does anybody have like a guess just off the top of your head? Sure.
So it looks realistic.
Exactly. Yeah, it gives a lot of detail to what you're looking at. Without the texture, this little tree right here that I drew, do you think this tree right here is very visually interesting? No, but if I was to put the bark on it and everything, and I was put the leaves and the branches in there and give it that texture, wouldn't it change? And it would be more visually interesting, correct? Yeah. Yep. Yes, it's more visually interesting because these artists up there, they included texture, okay? So girls, listen up. Next question is, how does texture create visual interest? So we kind of just answered that question, right? Ladies, I need you to listen. I don't like to repeat myself very much, okay? I'm having a hard time with my voice today. And so I want to say what I have to say, okay? Can texture create certain feelings in an artwork? What do you think about that? Yeah, most definitely. So if I showed you a picture of somebody petting a cute little bunny, your reaction would more likely be, oh, that's cute and it's soft, you know? But if I showed you a painting of a cactus that really emphasized those little pricklies on there, wouldn't you have a different reaction than looking at the bunny? And it'd probably be something like, ooh, ouch, you know? So this is something very important to consider in your artwork. If you're trying to create or convey a certain feeling in your artwork, texture can really help you do that. All of the different seven elements can help you do that, but texture is very important into conveying different types of feelings in the artwork. It has a huge effect on it. So real quick, we're going to go over the vocabulary. Texture, okay? The feel, appearance, or consistency of a surface or a substance. So we just learned about that, okay? Tactile. This word is of or connected with the sense of touch. It's perceptible by touch, and it's also tangible. Does anybody know what tangible means? Tangible means that you're able to touch it. So if I was going back to the bunny, it's pretty touchable. It's soft, you know. People don't mind touching bunnies so much as opposed to that cactus, revisiting that cactus. I mean, would you really want to touch the cactus? You can if you want to, but it's going to hurt. So that makes this cactus not very tangible, okay? And tactile refers to the sense of touch, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, actual texture is texture that is real and touchable, and you can create that in a painting. You can also do that in sculpture. You can use actual texture in sculptures. But in painting, for instance, I painted a painting once of a daisy, and in the center of the daisy, I used really thick paint, and I kind of pulled it outwards, all in the middle of that circle. And so there was a whole bunch of those things, and you could actually go up to it and touch it. I mean, not that I wanted you to touch it, but you could. I mean, there was a texture there that was touchable, right? Then there's implied texture. Implied texture is, or it gives the illusion of texture, and it's created by changes in value. Remember when we were learning about value, and I told you guys that you needed at least a light, a medium, and a dark? Same thing with texture. You're going to have to use a light, medium, and dark just to create the illusion of that texture. But like on the board over here, I tried to draw a little basket. I'm not very good at baskets, apparently, but the point is if I was to draw all those weaves on one side of the basket, but on the other side of the basket, I just kind of trailed off a couple of those, that would actually bring you back to implied texture. And well, that's what we were just talking about. Implied texture is just kind of gives you the illusion. So you don't have to draw every single little weave of the basket, right? Your mind sees the basket and puts it together that it's a basket. So you don't actually have to draw every single one. But if you did, this would be called simulated texture. This is texture that attempts to copy something exactly. So if I drew every single little weave in that basket, that would be simulated. Invented texture, this is a texture that's a very simplified version of the simulated texture, and it communicates the essence of texture. So basically, you're going down to the very basics of just the essence. So you're probably going to use minimal lines or minimal detail to create the essence of this texture. This would be the most basic way to convey texture, where actual texture would be the most complex way. Okay, do we understand that? So on the Google slide, or Google Classroom, you'll see the slide presentation with this information in it. And then there's a couple more slides that you can read for yourself. I'm not going to go over that in class. But as far as our assignment goes, you guys are going to, and I'm going to pass out some paper here in just a moment. On a piece of paper, you're going to draw 10 different squares. Remember when we did the circles with the different shading techniques inside? We're going to do something like that, but we're going to do it with texture. So on the slideshow, if you have your Chromebooks, you can pull it up and there is a video and it'll show you, it'll actually make it a lot easier to do these different squares because it shows you exactly how to make the different textures or some textures that they have. You can do your own if you want, but there is a video that'll help you through that. Also, there's one other assignment for this week, and it's a written assignment. You're going to, on a Google Docs, you're going to research texture art. You're going to find 5 different artists or pieces of artwork, and you're going to put it on a Google Doc, like you can copy and paste it over. And what I want you to do is give me a detailed description of the image's texture. So specifically, if it has more than one texture, I want you to describe that, okay? So 5 different pieces of art. Now, anytime that you're going to show a piece of art to somebody, there's some things that you're going to want to remember to include, and that includes on this assignment. So on the board, I have that listed. You always want to include the artist's name, the title of the artwork. So if it has a name and you can find the title, include it, okay? If it doesn't have a title, you can write no title, okay? Then I want obviously a picture of it, whatever you're trying to show me. And then, like I said, a description of the texture, okay? Does everybody understand that assignment?
Do we have to know how many sentences we have to write?
It doesn't have to be long. Yeah, just a short little paragraph. Please don't stress out over this written assignment. Make it as easy as possible. Yeah, I just want you, the main purpose of it is I wanted you to be able to look at something and to be able to describe it to me in terms of texture, okay? So if I was to paint a picture of the clouds outside above the mountains, but let's say that it was really soft, there was a lot of them and they were really soft, that description would be soft, right? But if you found an artist online that has a very rough or bumpy texture, you can use those simple words just like that. Rough, bumpy, soft, prickly, whatever. I mean, whatever word comes to mind to describe your textures, okay? So that's simple, all righty? And that's it for this week, but I'm going to tell you about next week's assignment so you can just have it on your mind before we get to it. You're going to be drawing a portrait of somebody. It could be yourself, it could be anybody you want, a famous person, I don't care who, but the portrait has to be, you have to use texture. Whether it's inside the person's, wait a minute, I'm sorry. It's inside the hand. It's called textured hands, not a portrait.
Isn't that supposed to be the project for this
No. This is a 2-week. This is a 2-week unit. So this week you're going to focus on those squares in the written project, and then next week you're going to be drawing something called textured hands. So in the beginning, on a piece of paper, you're going to draw your hand in different positions, and on the slideshow you will see some examples of that. You can try to draw the examples, or you can use your own hand and just look at it and try to draw it, okay? And they're just little bitty drawings. They're not big, giant drawings. It's all on one piece of paper. So just practice drawing your hand, and then choose one of those positions of your hand, and on a separate piece of paper, you're going to draw that position on the piece of paper, just like say if I chose this position, you're going to try to cover at least that much of your paper, okay? But inside that hand, you're going to draw a bunch of different textures. And there are examples, or there's an example on the slideshow, where if you look at it, like the thumb of the hand, the person drew like a branch, and it has a butterfly on it. And then right inside here, they have flowers. And then right inside here, it looks like it's got like dirt or something, and then something's growing on it. So there's different types, and I think one of them is a feather. One of the fingers is a feather, which is another texture. So you can try to do the one you're looking at, the example, or come up with your own textures to fill that space in, okay? Do you understand the assignment on that one? Okay. Is there any questions about either of these things? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and...
What are these due?
What's that?
What are these due? When do they have to be turned in?
2 weeks. Okay, so what I told you about today, the squares, they're supposed to be due on Monday along with the written assignment. And then next week, the texture hands will be due the following Monday.
And what about what's it called? You just told us we were supposed to draw somebody or famous person.
That was for Art 1. I'm sorry. I skipped ahead on the slideshow and was reading that assignment. That's
How do we